Challenger, Houston, we have good TV. Go ahead with the lesson, Christa.
Okay. Good morning. This is Christa McAuliffe, live from the Challenger, and I'm going to be taking you through a field trip. I'm going to start out introducing you to two very important members of the crew. The first one is Commander Scobie, who is sitting to my left, and the second one is Michael Smith. Now, Commander Scobie is going to tell you a little bit about flying the orbiter, and Pilot Smith is going to be telling you a little bit about the Spock, which is the computer that is used on board. Okay, after they talk about that, I'm going to be talking about the seats and how people are seated during takeoff.
Right now, going live to Cape Canaveral in Florida. Here's News Director Jerry Little. Jerry, what's happening?
It was July 1985, Glenn, when Christa McAuliffe beat out better than 1,000 other teachers who chosen to be the first private citizen into space. We're just minutes away from Christa's blastoff. A very exciting time at Kennedy Space Center on Cape Canaveral in Florida.
Patience has been a key element around the NASA operation all this week. We're going to join Tom and Tier now. Once again, just getting down to about 3 minutes, and they think they can do it.
They are counting. The ice is cleared away, and Challenger should be going away very soon. Let's go down to the Kennedy Space Center and take a look at Challenger sitting on the pad.
The hydrogen burn igniters have been armed. These igniters will be fired at T-minus 10 seconds to burn off any residual hydrogen gas. You can feel the excitement here at Kennedy Space Center right now, and in less than a minute we'll be able to feel the Challenger taking off.
T-minus 21 seconds, and the solid rocket booster engine gimbal now underway. T-minus 15 seconds.
This is it, Christa McAuliffe about to make history.
9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3,
2, 1, and liftoff. Liftoff of the 25th Space Shuttle mission, and it has cleared the tower.
Good roll program confirmed. Challenger now heading downrange. I'm speechless. Simply speechless. No other way to explain it. Simply awesome. The feeling, the whole grandstand 3.5 miles away from here just shakes. 3 on 65. 65, Fido.
TDL confirms throttle.
Thank you. Challenger, go with throttle up. Challenger, go with throttle up.
After a weekend at Camp David, President Reagan was back campaigning today. The highlight of that trip, however, was an announcement that the first citizen passenger aboard the Space Shuttle will be a teacher.
It's long been a goal of our Space Shuttle, the program to someday carry citizen passengers into space. Today, I'm directing NASA to choose as the first citizen passenger in the history of our space program, one of America's finest, a teacher. And when that shuttle lifts off, all of America will be reminded of the crucial role that teachers and education play in the life of our nation.
Mike DeSpicio is a science teacher who believes in a practical approach to learning. Now, with NASA's invitation to apply for a ride in the Space Shuttle, an old ambition of Mike's has been rekindled.
Obviously, it's a dream, and the competition is going to be stiff, but it'd be great to be that person selected.
These are some of the applications from teachers hoping to be chosen for that flight. The quality of the applicants, says Program Manager Terry Rosenblatt, is very high.
With the future development of our space station, then that opens up brand new opportunities for our young people. And I think the message needs to be delivered to our young people so that they'll have job opportunities and be receptive of these changes.
And I've always been dedicated to finding new information for my children and bringing new techniques and new technology, such as computers or videography, to my classroom. I'm really excited about this. I really want to go.
We will now have exactly 90 seconds to answer the second question. It is clear that this is a major time commitment. If you are selected, what impact do you see this having on your life beyond the classroom?
Well, certainly it will change my life. I have been a classroom teacher for these years, but I've also been an adventurer, and I've always wanted to try something new, and certainly as a historian, to have the opportunity to embark on such an adventure, I certainly wouldn't be able to say no to.
So let me tell you now who our teacher in space will be, and let me say, I thought I was a world traveler, but this tops anything I've tried. And first, the backup teacher who will make the flight if the winner can't, Barbara Morgan of the McCall Donnelly Elementary School in McCall, Idaho. Congratulations. And we have a little thing for you. And the winner, the teacher who will be going into space, Christa McAuliffe. Where is that you? Christa teaches in Concord High School in Concord, New Hampshire. She teaches high school social studies. She's been teaching for 12 years. She plans to keep a journal of her experiences in space. Well, I'm personally looking forward to reading that journal someday. Good luck, Christa, and God bless all of you. Thank you very much for coming. And you too get one of these. So well done. You want to say something about yeah.
It's not often that a teacher is at a loss for words. I know my students wouldn't think so. I've made 9 wonderful friends over the last 2 weeks. And when that shuttle goes, they might be one body. But there's going to be 10 souls that I'm taking with me. Thank you.
That's great.
I've got to ask you, when did you find out? Did you find out just before the announcement?
Yeah, we did. We asked as a group, we requested that we find out prior to going into the room. It was a small room. There were a lot of press there. We've invested an awful lot of emotion in these last 2 weeks, and we really felt that we needed to find out and compose ourselves before walking into the room. So we did know before we walked in.
What were your feelings when you found out?
Well, it was rather funny when we were talking about what was happening at home, and I was saying something to the effect that, when I'm not home, and I said my husband really relies on cornflakes and milk because that's kind of his staple. And Ann Bradley turned around and kind of, without missing a beat, she turned around and she said to me while the whole group was together, she said, "I think you better buy some more cornflakes and milk."
Everybody who knows her, I think, honestly thought that there may have been candidates who were certainly her equal, but that there was nobody that would be superior to her. And we all felt that way, so we all felt that she had a really, really good chance.
When you first applied for this, did you think you had even a prayer?
I really didn't. I was almost doing it kind of like when you play the lottery. If you don't play it, you don't win.
Sure.
And when I filled out that application, that's really how I felt. I figured there'd be at least 50,000 people across the country who would be slipping that into the mailbox around the same time.
What about when you made it down to the last 10? Did you think then, maybe?
Well, then the possibility became very real, and I really started to think what the impact would be on my teaching career and on my family, but it was still really exciting.
Has it all hit you yet?
No, I don't think so. I still can't believe that I'm going to actually be going into that shuttle. It just really doesn't seem possible.
Maybe just a little bit of fright, too?
Not yet. Maybe when I'm strapped in and those rockets are going off underneath me, there will be, but space flight today really seems safe.
Pleasure being here with you all this morning. This good-looking group off to my right, I'd like to introduce them one at a time by specialty, and then I would like each one of them to say a little bit about what they're going to do on the flight. So without further ado, Elson Onizuka is our expert on the tracking data relay satellite, the inertial upper stage, our largest payload on board. Ron McNair is our expert on the Spartan Halley, the Comet research satellite we're carrying on board that we're going to put out over the side for a couple days and pick up. Mike Smith, our pilot, who also backs me up on everything I do. He's also an expert in rendezvous, prox ops, and systems. Judy Resnick, who's our flight engineer, probably one of the most knowledgeable people on systems on the orbiter in the astronaut office, so she's a real asset to the crew. She is also our remote manipulator system operator, so she's a crane operator on the side. Greg Jarvis, one of our payload specialists. Greg has a flight dynamics experiment on board he'll talk to you about. It's fairly colorful, and it's a nice experiment to be performed on board the orbiter during the whole mission. And of course, Christa McAuliffe, our teacher in space, will be doing teacher activities the whole flight.
And as the first space participant, I'd just like to say that I am very delighted to be part of this crew. Everybody's been wonderful in making me feel a part of this mission. I'll be teaching 2 lessons from the shuttle, and I was amazed to find out how much crew participation I needed for the 2 lessons. Everybody's going to be involved in the field trip through the shuttle. The 2 lessons will be downlinked live. I think it's going to be very exciting for kids to be able to turn on the TV and see the teacher teaching from space.
Challenger Houston, we have good video. We're ready for your lesson. Go ahead, Christa.
Okay, we've come a long way from the Wright brothers plane to the shuttle. All right, now, when I've got the shuttle in my hand, that's when I'll start talking about the payload bay, talk about the satellites that are deployed, and then talk about what can be done on board inside the shuttle. All right, so I'll be doing the liquid, marshmallows, otherwise known as cotton balls and beams. And those things don't even have to be brought that close. I think they'll be able to see that, okay? When the 10 of us met as the 10 finalists in Washington, D.C. in August, we realized that we wanted something very visual that students could do in the classroom and look and see how it happened that a magnet, for example, was reacting in a weightless environment, and how it happened that that magnet reacted in a gravity environment.
The string has got, okay, there's
Okay, you move over a little bit. Put you on a camera, film, TV camera. It works. Okay, and then do the opposite, right?
And then opposites attract.
What I'll do is I'll just bring this up, and this will say N. See, right now it doesn't. And I'll go like that, and that should make it move away. If you put on here, we could try it Velcroed, and then I could try a free float for the electromagnet.
There's going to be one on magnetism, and we've got a wonderful 3-dimensional magnet that we took up in the KC-135, and it just worked beautifully. So we're very excited about that.
So far, what's been the most rigorous part of your training?
A lot of the training is not physically rigorous. Mentally it is, because you're trying to learn all of this information to get yourself ready to go on board the shuttle.
You see the little green orbiter bug on flight on orbit number 61.
Oh, okay, so it does, yeah, it does come out before. Oh my God. This doesn't seem possible. So good. Oh. Did you get the spark? Oh. Probably one of the hardest things that has happened to me this year in trying to just get adjusted is that I'm no longer in school. I'm a student again, full-time. That is a big change from the last few years because I've been teaching, but also being so far away from my family. And this is a year commitment, And that's been probably one of the hardest adjustments I've had to make.
You like this? These containers, Scott, have experiments in them on the real flights, so that they'll be exposed to space, and then they take them back when the shuttle comes back, and they see what happens to them.
Okay, great.
All right. Big dish?
Yeah, that's what you'll be talking about.
When she left her husband and 2 children in New Hampshire, her 6-year-old daughter Caroline wasn't very happy about it. Why wasn't she?
Because I don't want to go in space, because I just want to stay around my house.
You're listening to Public Radio for New Hampshire, WEVO FM 89 in Concord. Good morning. I'm Bill Boynton reporting state news. And it is space news as well, as the Space Shuttle Challenger is still sitting on its Cape Canaveral launch pad after a one-day delay that was forced by a forecast of rain and thunderstorms.
We're supposed to be live today with the blast-off of the Space Shuttle Challenger.
It was a very simple matter that derailed the whole operation this morning. They were literally having to send back to the ground for a charged battery-powered drill. Then the technicians were able to free the problem with the hatch. They had to physically drill a screw out of there.
Once again, the launch of Christa McAuliffe and the Space Shuttle Challenger has been postponed again, possibly until tomorrow, possibly until later in the week.
This is shuttle launch control at T-minus 3 hours and holding. We're about 4 hours and 10 minutes away from the opening of today's launch window for Mission 51L, with America's first private citizen to fly aboard the shuttle in NASA's Spaceflight Participation Program. This will be the 10th flight for the Orbiter Challenger and the 25th launch for the Space Transportation System. The weather at this time looks good, and the temperature at the launch pad right now is 24 degrees. This is shuttle launch control at T-minus 2 hours, 28 minutes and counting. Here comes the 51L flight crew boarding the elevator for the second time in 2 days, ready to depart the O&C building for the launch pad. Commander Dick Scobie, followed by Mission Specialist Judy Resnick, Tom McNair, pilot Mike Smith, followed by Christa McAuliffe, teacher in space. Big smiles today, confidently getting into the van.
The Astrovan carrying the crew of the 51L mission, headed by Commander Dick Scobie, has just reached the pad surface. The crew is going to find somewhat of a chilly welcome when they arrive in the cabin. There is no real heaters in there overnight, and the temperature here at the Kennedy Space Center dropped down into the 20s. The first crew member, Commander Dick Scobie, now in the White Room, taking off his jacket, along with Mike Smith, who is the pilot. As they prepare to board, each of them will put on an integrated egress harness and a special helmet. Primarily, it's part of an emergency egress system, or exit system, that helps the crew climb out of the vehicle in the event of a crash. The teacher observer, Christa McAuliffe, has been handed an apple by the closeout crew. All 7 members of the 51L flight crew are now in the shuttle.
Welcome to our northern launch facility. Thanks a lot. Yeah, that's the northernmost pad we've got, and you can probably tell from the icicles out there how far north it is. Yeah, if you'd launched us off the south pad, it would have been warmer up. Yeah, we wouldn't have had all that ice out there, I'm sure. I see. Everybody feeling all right this morning? We're doing great, Gene, thanks. Okay. We're going to give you a ride today. Good deal. OTC, CDR, radio check. CDR, OTC, I read you loud and clear. How many? Loud and clear. Good morning, Roberta. Good morning, Dick. Let's hope we go today. Good morning, Christa. Hope we go today. Good morning. Hope so, too.
Right now, going live to Cape Canaveral in Florida. Here's News Director Jerry Little. Jerry, what's happening?
The shuttle is about 3.5 miles away from us. It is a huge rocket that it's on. It doesn't look that small from here. You wouldn't guess it was 3.5 miles.
T-minus 7 minutes, 30 seconds. And the ground launch sequencer has started retracting the orbiter crew access arm.
Christa is scheduled to perform lots of lessons from space, 2 of them actually, on her 4th day of the mission. That's going to be Friday if Challenger gets off the ground today, and it's looking good.
T-minus 2 minutes, 44 seconds and counting. Retraction has started of the gaseous oxygen vent hood.
Less than a minute and a half, Concord's Christa McAuliffe is heading for the stars. You can feel the excitement here at Kennedy Space Center right now, and in less than a minute we'll be able to feel the Challenger taking off.
Christa's parents standing in the bleachers, arms around each other. 27 seconds.
The SRB hydraulic power units have started. T-minus 15 seconds.
This is it, Christa McAuliffe about to make history.
T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. We have main engine start. 4, 3, 2, 1, and liftoff. Liftoff of the 25th Space Shuttle mission, and it has cleared the tower.
Liftoff confirmed. Liftoff. Houston, Challenger, roll program. Roger, roll, Challenger. I'm speechless. Simply speechless. No other way to explain it. Simply awesome. The whole grandstand, 3.5 miles away from here, just shakes, and it almost knocks you out of your seat. It leaves a trail of clouds, folks. It must be miles apart and miles wide, and I don't know how else you'd explain it. I was afraid this was going to happen, that this thing would be so awe-inspiring that I wouldn't know what to say, and that's occurred.
Good roll, flight.
Raj, good roll.
3 at 65.
65, Fido. Engines at 65%, 3 engines. She's up. Christa McAuliffe, heading to outer space. The first teacher in space, the first private citizen in space. It looks to be a perfect liftoff.
TDL confirms throttle.
Thank you.
Challenger, go at throttle up.
Velocity 2,900 feet per second, altitude 9.
Something went wrong here. We've got a problem with what looks like a second plume of smoke.
We do have a problem, Bob. It looks as if one of the it may have lost a solid rocket booster. It's hard to tell.
There are two separate plumes of smoke, and the shuttle, we can't tell which one the shuttle is now. They've separated.
Fido trajectory. Go ahead. Flight GC, we've had negative contact, lost downlink.
Okay, all operators, watch your data carefully. Flight controllers here looking very carefully at the situation. Obviously a major malfunction. through the flight dynamics officer that the vehicle has exploded. We are now looking at all the contingency operations and awaiting word from any recovery forces in the downrange field.
Negative contact, lost downlink.
Okay, are there any forces headed out that way?
Yes, sir. DoD also reports that all SAR forces have been scrambled and they are on their way.
Flight Fido. Go ahead.
RSO reports vehicle exploded.
Copy. Fido, can we get any reports from recovery forces? Flight controllers here looking very carefully at the situation.
Hush has fallen over the bleacher.
Obviously a major malfunction.
They're saying there's been a major malfunction. The crowd is quiet. You can hear a pin drop here as they wait to hear from Mission Control on what the malfunction was.
We have a report from the flight dynamics officer that the vehicle has exploded. Flight director confirms that. We are looking at checking with the recovery forces to see what can be done at this point. Oh my God, the vehicle exploded. It was up beyond the roof here in the grandstand. I couldn't see it. It left the TV screen. With me here now is Jim Banks. He's an editor of Avion magazine. Jim, can you give us an idea of what's happened here?
Okay, Jerry, I was closer down to the ground there. I could see it overhead, and it appeared to just a shower of smoke. The solid rocket booster produces a very thick smoke, and we just saw trails all over the place.
Flight GC, negative downlink.
Copy. Checking with the recovery forces to see what can be done at this point. And we will keep you advised as further information becomes available. This is Mission Control.
Everyone in the stands holding their faces and crying. Some of the parents are hugging their kids, just staring up at the sky, at the smoke that was left as it took off. Christa McAuliffe's parents standing in the bleachers, just staring up at the smoke. The third graders from Kimball School in Concord, crying, waiting to hear what happened.
We saw NASA spokesman Jim Mizell running towards the press site dome, saying an RTLS abort, which is a return to launch site abort, where they would expect Challenger to land at the runway here. Now Houston is beginning to intimate that perhaps the orbiter has exploded. They are not receiving any telemetry from the orbiter. And at this time, they're waiting for landing, recovery, emergency forces out near the ocean and back here at the Cape to get some kind of word.
We have no additional word.
That
last message was no additional word. There are no signals coming from the Space Shuttle Challenger. This is too much to comprehend. We are awaiting verification as to the location of the recovery forces in the field to see what may be possible at this point. There is absolutely no sign of the Challenger. Oh my God. And we will keep you advised as further information becomes available. Glenn, ladies and gentlemen at home, I don't know what to say. Did the RSOs have an impact point? Stand by. Okay, everybody, stay off the telephones. Make sure you maintain all your data. Start pulling it together. The contingency operations. The scene is hectic around here. People are running in every direction. NASA technicians and officials headed inside as soon as the explosion occurred. Reporters and photographers ran for their phones and their cameras. Spectators, in horror, also left the field in front of us. I saw Barbara Morgan being literally carried back inside. NASA has not given us any more information in the last 5 minutes. This, of course, would be the worst disaster in aerospace history.
Let's go now to the live picture. We see a parachute.
What kind of parachutes do they have, Tom? How many do they have? How much can they hold? Do you have any information?
Jerry, we're looking at some TV pictures that apparently show something of that explosion did indeed parachute out of it.
It appears to be a parachute. There's something on it.
We're watching a parachute floating down, and we don't know what that is.
Can you get to the airport in time to just meet that plane and say, get back on the plane with tickets?
Graphics, I need pictures of the crew, please.
We are still not clear as yet, Tom, exactly what was parachuting down here.
We're not clear, but we know that a C-130 was in the area and that medical personnel were dispatched by parachute down into the water to search for survivors.
So this is possibly a rescue effort.
That's right. This came about 12 or 12 and a half minutes after the explosion.
Those parachutes are believed to be paramedics going into that area.
If you're just joining us on Joy FM, what you're hearing is the voice of Mission Control. The space shuttle went up at about 11:38, and a minute into the flight, it exploded, and they're awaiting word now on what the status of the craft is.
We're reviewing their data here in Mission Control. Okay, as you've heard, that parachute that we saw heading down into the landing area, or the area where the craft appears to have impacted, are again emergency medical technicians. It is not part of the Challenger. They're trying to find what is left of the craft and hopefully survivors. Helicopters are now passing overhead on their way out there, as are rescue ships.
It just seemed that it happened so suddenly. Who knows whether or not they had time to rehearse any kind of an emergency procedure at this point. If it was just, you know, an instantaneous explosion that no one was expecting.
At this point, we have no more specific information, but we will go back to Jerry Little in Florida. Jerry, is there any more word at this point from Mission Control?
There's nothing I can say. I'm grieved. There was so much anticipation, so much excitement around this. The craft had gone up out of my view, and I was watching it on the screen as most of you at home were, and I'm sorry, I've got to go. I need some time.
You are looking at the 7 crew members of the Space Shuttle Challenger's mission. We have no official word as of yet on their fate, but the explosion, as you saw, was a tremendous and disastrous one. John, we have some information from NASA right now as to exactly where parts of the spacecraft fell. They were reporting it fell at 28.64 north latitude and 80.28 degrees west longitude, just a few miles off Cape Canaveral.
This is a live picture off the Florida coast at the Kennedy Space Center from one of NASA's helicopters.
The ships and helicopters are racing to the area now where the Space Shuttle Challenger went down. The control center says that paramedics have entered the water. There's no indication of how much of the shuttle is intact. At this point, we're going to try to reestablish contact with Joy FM's Jerry Little, who is live at the crash site. Jerry, are you with us?
It's a strange scene, Dan. A lot of these reporters are hard at work filing their stories on the tragedy, and I'm just too stunned by the whole thing right now. I guess I have to apologize for the lack of my effectiveness, but us from Concord and New Hampshire are thinking of Christa and her family right now. But there were 7 people on that craft.
Jerry, we're going to interrupt you for a moment and go to the White House for spokesman Larry Speaks.
We do not have any more information than is being provided to the public at this time. The way the President found out about it is he was in the Oval Office with a group of senior staff preparing for State of the Union. The Vice President and the Foreign Policy Advisor, John Poindexter, came in with others and informed the President that the news had just broken. We immediately adjourned our Oval Office meeting and went into an adjoining room, the President's study, where there's a television, and the President then began to review television reports.
Larry, can you tell us anything specifically that the President said, any quotations, and did he make any mention of the fact that the teacher that he suggested, that the program of a teacher in space, that teacher was on board this flight?
Well, I know that was on his mind. Quite frankly, the President stood there in almost stunned silence as he watched the television. You could certainly read the concern, the sorrow, the anxiety on his face as he watched, and the group watched around him. As I say, he was virtually watched in silence.
What is your best information as to the condition of the crew, Larry, at this point?
We don't have any more information than what is being provided to the public on television.
The NASA news conference at 3:30 live, then get me into, there's been reaction from across the country, briefly, some thoughts from people in New York.
The only thing I could think about were those kids in that auditorium and the trauma they must be going, and what a shock it must be for them to watch something like that happen to their teacher. That's what I was thinking of.
People risk their lives for the future of the United States. Made me feel terrible.
It's like when Kennedy died and Martin Luther King died, you always feel inside, like part of you is going too.
Hey, listen, I got a major problem. Whoever cut that tape of the reaction took all the guts out of it. There may be no State of the Union tonight. They got to start planning a shuttle show for 9 o'clock.
Affect in any way the plans for the State of the Union tonight?
I don't believe so. I'm certain that the President will feel compelled to mention this, depending on the outcome of what we learn here in a few minutes.
Let me introduce the Vice President of the United States, George Bush. Mr. Bush.
Thank you all. Well, first, my respects and gratitude to this team, everybody here, on what's got to be one of the toughest, if not the toughest day in the history of this marvelous program that NASA has overseen over the years. The President asked me to come down to pay my respects to the families on behalf of the country, and also to all of you that work at NASA. And we went over and saw some of the family members, and we also heard a marvelous message that all of them seemed to share in, and that is their plea, family members' plea, that the program lose no zip, that it go forward full speed.
Most of you have been tied up here today. You've been on the boards here and at your positions here, and you haven't seen probably much of what's been going on TV across the country today. But it's been a national day of tragedy, I can guarantee you that. You'll see that when you finally get out of here this evening. All America is sharing in the tragedy that you have lived through here today. We've had tremendous triumphs. We've had triumph after triumph after triumph, and that's how mankind goes ahead, to be a little philosophical for just a moment. We try, we try, we try. And in this program, we've succeeded. Really, if we're honest about it, and honest with ourselves, beyond our wildest dreams, because I would never have thought we would ever go this far without losing some people in something where you're up there traveling around at 5 miles a second, heat of re-entry and all the complexities and the things that have to work right. We come to a time when something happens and we have a tragedy that goes along with our triumphs. And I guess that's the story of all mankind.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'd planned to speak to you tonight to report on the State of the Union. But the events of earlier today have led me to change those plans. Today is a day for mourning and remembering.
I felt as if my whole body blew up inside when I saw that. And I can just never be as shocked as I am now.
We mourn 7 heroes: Michael Smith, Dick Scobie, Judith Resnick, Ronald McNair, Ellison Onizuka, Gregory Jarvis, and Christa McAuliffe.
She was just a real caring, kind person. She's kind of like a big sister to me, kind of. She's just really special.
We mourn their loss as a nation together.
The boat is towing a fairly sizable piece of debris. The Challenger will come home in as many pieces as they can find.
The families of the 7, we cannot bear, as you do, the full impact of this tragedy. But we feel the loss. We're thinking about you so very much. Your loved ones were daring and brave, and they had that special grace, that special spirit that says, give me a challenge, and I'll meet it with joy. They had a hunger to explore the universe and discover its truths. They wished to serve, and they did. They served all of us. We've grown used to wonders in this century. It's hard to dazzle us. But for 25 years, the United States space program has been doing just that. We've grown used to the idea of space, and perhaps we forget that we've only just begun. We're still pioneers. They, the members of the Challenger crew, were pioneers. And I want to say something to the school children of America who were watching the live coverage of the shuttle's takeoff. I know it's hard to understand, but sometimes painful things like this happen. It's all part of the process of exploration and discovery. It's all part of taking a chance and expanding man's horizons. The future doesn't belong to the faint-hearted. It belongs to the brave.
You will now have exactly 90 seconds to answer the final question. Describe your philosophy of living.
My philosophy of living. Well, I think my philosophy of living is to get as much out of life as possible.
The Challenger crew was pulling us into the future, and we'll continue to follow them.
Life is but a vapor. We see it for a moment, and then it's gone. But while we have life, let us contribute to humanity. These 7 contributed their lives for a great cause. And I thank God today I had the opportunity to meet them by media, and they have inspired my mind and my heart.
There's a coincidence today. On this day, 390 years ago, the great explorer Sir Francis Drake died aboard ship off the coast of Panama. In his lifetime, the great frontiers were the oceans. The historian later said he lived by the sea, died on it, and was buried in it. Well, today, we can say of the Challenger crew, their dedication was, like Drake's, complete. The crew of the Space Shuttle Challenger honored us for the manner in which they lived their lives. We will never forget them, nor the last time we saw them, this morning, as they prepared for their journey and waved goodbye.
3, 2, 1, and liftoff.
And slipped the surly bonds of Earth.
Liftoff of the 25th Space Shuttle mission, and it has cleared the tower.
To touch the face of God.
Challenger now heading downrange.
Americans everywhere watched at an exercise club in California's San Fernando Valley, in the recreation room of an American MP barracks in West Germany, at Port St. John, Florida, where students at Challenger Elementary School, named in memory of the last shuttle, would be able to see the launch on the horizon from their playground. And in Huntsville, Alabama, they watched too, at the National Space Academy for high school students.
Americans return to space as Discovery clears the tower.
Cheers everywhere.
The Space Shuttle Discovery is now headed into orbit, and America is back in space.